Did you know that Hercules, the greatest of Greek heroes, was not always the mighty demigod we know him as? His story, like the tapestry of his life, is woven with threads of both glory and tragedy, strength and vulnerability, love and loss. It begins not with a triumphant roar, but with a whisper, a secret whispered by the gods themselves. Zeus, the king of the gods, was known for his amorous escapades. One such affair, with Alcmene, a mortal woman of extraordinary beauty, resulted in the conception of Hercules. Hera, Zeus's jealous wife, was enraged by this infidelity. In her fury, she swore vengeance upon the child, even before he was born. Hercules was born with the strength of a god, but his life was marked by Hera's relentless persecution. She sent 2 serpents to his cradle, hoping to suffocate him in his sleep. But Hercules, even as an infant, displayed his superhuman strength, crushing the serpents with his bare hands. As Hercules grew, his strength became legendary. He was a skilled archer, a fierce warrior, and a master of all forms of combat. He was also known for his unwavering courage and his unwavering loyalty to his friends and family. But Hera's wrath continued to plague him. She drove him mad, causing him to kill his own children in a fit of rage. Overwhelmed with guilt and despair, Hercules sought redemption. He turned to the Oracle of Delphi, who instructed him to serve King Eurystheus for 12 years, completing 12 impossible tasks, known as the labors of Hercules. The first labor was to slay the Nemean lion, a beast with impenetrable hide. Hercules, armed with his bow and arrows, wrestled the lion to the ground, strangling it with his bare hands. He then skinned the lion, wearing its hide as a symbol of his victory. The second labor was to slay the 9-headed Lernaean Hydra, a monstrous serpent that breathed fire and venom. Hercules, armed with his sword and arrows, fought the Hydra, cutting off its heads only to see them grow back. He finally defeated the Hydra by burning its wounds with firebrands, preventing the heads from regenerating. The third labor was to capture the Ceryneian hind, a sacred deer with golden antlers and bronze hooves. Hercules tracked the hind for a year, finally catching it with his arrows. He then carried the hind back to King Eurystheus, who was so impressed by Hercules' feat that he allowed him to keep the deer. The fourth labor was to capture the Erymanthian boar, a wild boar with razor-sharp tusks. Hercules, armed with his club and arrows, chased the boar into a deep snowdrift, where he captured it. He then carried the boar back to King Eurystheus, who was so terrified by the boar that he hid in a large jar. The fifth labor was to clean the Augean stables in a single day. The stables, belonging to King Augeas, were home to thousands of cattle and had not been cleaned in 30 years. Hercules, using his superhuman strength, diverted 2 rivers, the Alpheus and the Perneus, to wash away the filth. The sixth labor was to slay the Stymphalian birds, a flock of birds with bronze beaks and claws that could shoot deadly feathers. Hercules, armed with his bow and arrows, drove the birds away from their nesting place, using a rattle to scare them. He then shot the birds with his arrows, killing them all. The seventh labor was to capture the Cretan bull, a fierce bull that had been sent by Poseidon to King Minos. Hercules, armed with his club and arrows, wrestled the bull to the ground, capturing it. He then carried the bull back to King Eurystheus, who was so impressed by Hercules' feat that he allowed him to keep the bull. The eighth labor was to steal the mares of Diomedes, a herd of man-eating mares owned by King Diomedes of Thrace. Hercules, armed with his club and arrows, fought off the mares guards, capturing the mares. He then carried the mares back to King Eurystheus, who was so impressed by Hercules' feat that he allowed him to keep the mares. The ninth labor was to obtain the girdle of Hippolyta, the queen of the Amazons. Hercules, armed with his club and arrows, sailed to the Amazons' island, where he met Hippolyta. Hippolyta agreed to give him the girdle, but Hera, disguised as an Amazon, stirred up trouble, causing the Amazons to attack Hercules. Hercules, in self-defense, killed Hippolyta and took the girdle. The 10th labor was to steal the cattle of the monster Geryon, a 3-bodied giant who lived on the island of Erythea. Hercules, armed with his club and arrows, sailed to Erythea, where he fought and killed Geryon's herdsman, Eurytion. He then stole Geryon's cattle, driving them back to King Eurystheus. The 11th labor were the golden apples of the Hesperides, guarded by a dragon named Ladon. Hercules, armed with his club and arrows, sought the help of Atlas, who was forced to hold up the sky. Hercules agreed to hold up the sky for Atlas while Atlas went to retrieve the apples. Atlas, however, tricked Hercules into taking back the sky, leaving Hercules to retrieve the apples himself. The 12th and final labor was to capture Cerberus, the three-headed dog that guarded the entrance to the underworld. Hercules, armed with his club and arrows, descended into the underworld, where he wrestled Cerberus to the ground, capturing him. He then carried Cerberus back to King Eurystheus, who was so terrified by the dog that he ordered Hercules to return Cerberus to the underworld. With the completion of his 12 labors, Hercules was finally free from the curse of Hera. He returned to his family and friends, a hero of unparalleled strength and courage. But his life was not without its tragedies. He lost his wife, Deianira, to a poisoned robe, and he was eventually killed by a poisoned arrow, shot by his own son, Hylas. Hercules' story is a testament to the human spirit's ability to overcome adversity. He was a man of great strength and courage, but he was also a man of great compassion and loyalty. His life was a journey of both triumph and tragedy, but he always remained true to himself and his values. His legacy lives on in the stories that are told about him, in the monuments that are built in his honor, and in the ideals that he represents. He is a symbol of strength, courage, and perseverance, a reminder that even in the face of great challenges, we can overcome any obstacle and achieve our goals. But there is more to Hercules' story than just his 12 labors. There is a deeper, more profound truth that lies beneath the surface of his legend. It is a truth that speaks to the human condition, to the struggles and triumphs that we all face in our lives. Hercules was not just a demigod. He was a man. He was a man who was loved and lost, who was betrayed and redeemed, who was broken and healed. He was a man who, despite his superhuman strength, was ultimately vulnerable and mortal. His story is a reminder that we are all capable of great things, but we are also capable of great mistakes. It is a reminder that we are all flawed, but we are also all capable of redemption. It is a reminder that we are all connected, and that our actions have consequences that ripple out into the world. Hercules' story is a story for all time. It is a story that speaks to the human heart, to the hopes and dreams, the fears and anxieties that we all share. It is a story that reminds us that we are not alone in our struggles, and that we are all capable of achieving greatness, even in the face of adversity. And so, the story of Hercules, the greatest of Greek heroes, continues to be told, passed down from generation to generation, a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit. It is a story that inspires us to be our best selves, to strive for greatness, and to never give up hope, even in the darkest of times.